on the subject. So the thing that people have been asking a lot about today is about the whole kind of political process and about becoming a delegate, about the caucuses, and possibly even about redistricting. You know, there's a lot of questions about that. A lot of people are confused about that. Right now we have an election coming up in 2022 in November, right? And right now a lot of these candidates are going around speaking, doing meet and greets and stuff, primarily looking for delegates, mostly. Okay, now the thing about it is the delegates who decide who gets the endorsement are not the current delegates. The current delegates are likely going to be delegates after the caucuses, but not necessarily. So it's hard to say. I'm not sure if the endorsement convention for the statewide races is prior to the caucuses and the elections of delegates and stuff, or if it's after it. But more often than not, we're going to have our caucuses in February, and then so we'll have our caucuses in February. And what will happen at caucuses is you'll show up, and they'll put you in a room basically for where your precinct is, and then you can run for delegate. You can also, and generally speaking, it's super easy because they'll have 3 people in the room, and there's 6 delegates available, and everybody that wants to be a delegate winds up being a delegate. And what that is a delegate to your BPOU convention. BPOU is your basic political organizational unit. It could be Senate District 67, like that's. We were in 67's event here this morning. So Senate District 67 is like the St. Paul area. Now they're going to go through a redistricting. Doesn't make any difference about the redistricting. Right now, you just have to show up at your current BPOU, which is the way it is right now. You go into there, you get elected to be a delegate to your BPOU based on your precinct. They go through redistricting and they figure out how your precincts are assigned and what the new Senate districts and the new House districts are, and you'll be a delegate to your next level. And then after that, they'll have a convention for your BPOU, the new one probably, and they'll decide whether or not you're a state delegate or a congressional delegate based on your elections. And then you can also go on to those conventions if you get elected to be a delegate, and even run for higher sometimes, depending on whether it's a national or not. But basically, they're going to have an endorsing convention for the statewide races, for the Attorney General, Secretary of State, the Auditor, I suppose. I don't know of any candidates for the Auditor. There's only one candidate right now for Secretary of State. There's 3 candidates for the Attorney General, and there's 6 candidates for the Governor. So they're going to have primarily a horse race on the governors, and they'll be looking for people to show up and be delegates for whether it be Marty, Murphy, Gazelka, Benson, Shaw, or did I miss one of them?
Jensen.
Scott Jensen, yeah. So there's 6 of them. So basically they're looking for delegates for that. Now, when you go to your caucuses, you'll be put in a little room. People were asking about resolutions and stuff and whether or not you want to change the party platform. That's where you do it. So if you've got an issue with the party, or you want to change something, or you want to support an issue, that's where you submit a resolution. And that resolution, you vote on it in your little precinct, and that gets passed up to your BPOU. And your BPOU will have a convention, and if you're a delegate, you go to that convention, and you can vote on that whether or not and you'll vote on the resolutions. And those resolutions a lot of times get submitted to your congressional district, and then they have a resolutions committee at the congressional district, and then those get passed up to the state, and at the state they have a convention for, and that's how they change the platform. But the big stuff, they probably will have a straw poll too. I don't know if they're going to do a straw poll or not at the BPOU, at the caucuses. But basically, you should, if you want to become more involved in your political party, you want to show up at your caucuses. And your caucuses are going to be on that February night, and they're only for like an hour, and you'll show up. They're totally free. You show up, you just get into your little room with your neighbors they're all in the same party as you, and you get yourself involved. And that's how you get yourself into the system. And then with redistricting is going to be decided by the courts, almost for sure. And none of us really know. The League of Women Voters has a map out there right now that talks about redistricting and has a proposal, and so you can look that up and look up your own local area and see how that might have changed, how they're doing it. But normally every 10 years they do redistricting. It's highly contentious. Nobody really knows until it's decided. So it's very, very, very possible it'll change. But who knows? Who knows? So you can look at that map if you want to. But. And then the other thing is if you really want to get involved and you want to meet and greet with these candidates and stuff, pay attention to your local BPOU and also start showing up at events. If you start showing up at events, you'll get invited to stuff. A lot of our groups don't normally advertise things publicly. We don't put out huge flyers, and so generally speaking, like the stuff that we have today. How many events do we have today, Candy?
One that we didn't know it was going on now, so that just got over with. We have our usual capital thing, a mansion thing, and then we have a KSTP one, and then we got the North St. Paul one.
Yeah, so this is normal. We have a lot of events. The Republicans are all like, well, there's no events. We've never heard of any events coming up. We have events all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
I hear them.
The only way, but the thing is you don't find out about these events unless you start showing up at events. Okay, so start showing up at events. There's lots of groups. The groups will put out flyers, like the Bikers for 45. There's all kinds of groups that put out flyers. All you have to do is get involved in one of the groups or multiple groups, and you'll start hearing about the events coming up. There's going to be events that are in your area where you live, and just show up. So we literally, I get invited to 20 events a week. People are like, there's nothing going on. There's stuff going on all the time, every day, right? There's lots of groups that do weekly stuff. Mask Off Minnesota, for example, is every Monday. There's a lot of groups. Every week they do an event. We do our Saturday thing every week. There's a lot of them that do that kind of stuff. And then there's monthly groups, like the Tea Party, like Mary Amelaw's group, every month. Lots of groups like that too. So BPOUs more often than not are once a month. There's events all over the place. And the thing is that all these events are generally open to whoever wants to show up. So if you want to show up to see Scott Jensen or Neil Shaw or Mike Murphy or Mike Marty or Michelle Benson or any of them, hopefully I didn't miss one of them again, but I think I got all 6 of them. There's 6 of them. I tried to be random order, but anyway. Scott Jensen, I think I got them all.
Yeah.
But anyway, so if you want to see one of these people and actually get to talk to them face to face and shake your hand, then show up.
Yeah, show up.
A lot of these guys.
Tell them what your opinions are and what you think the problems are.
Yeah. And we're going to be at the KSTP event today, which is at the KSTP here in St. Paul.
Yeah.
That'll be from 3 o'clock until 4:30.
What channel is that?
Channel 5, I think. I think it's 5. I believe so.
Yeah. So we'll be there. A lot of the big name candidates will be there. So if you're one of those people who wants to meet some of these guys, or they want, or women too, like Michelle Benson, and you want to be able to ask questions and stuff, show up. Show up for one of these events. And then once you start showing up, you'll get invited to more stuff. If you can be as active as you want. And now the thing too is all of our candidates need volunteers. They all need people to be working on their campaigns. And we also are going to need, we desperately need people to be election judges, poll challengers, right? Cammie's going to be one of those. She's real proud of that. We desperately need people to be doing stuff like that because
it was middle.
The honesty of our elections is very much in question.
Yeah, I know.
And then the other thing is, once all of this stuff is over with, we're going through a horse race right now for the endorsement and possibly a primary. When the horse race is all over with, you might have supported Gazelka, or you might have supported Shaw, or you might have supported Murphy, or whoever you supported. everybody needs to get back on the same team. We all got to get back on the same team because we're all on the same team. We got to be fighting the fight. Otherwise, if we don't get on the same team and all fight together, we're going to lose in 2022.
Yeah.
So we got to bury the hat. We go through our horse race and pick whoever you want. And then when this is all over with, man, we got to fight together because there's no I in team.
No, there's no I in team.
Sport.
We are one nation under God. We work as a team.
Yeah. So
we want the best for
now the next thing I'll go back to myself. We go out there and we interview all these candidates all the time, right? They're very approachable, very friendly.
Yeah.
Who do we come by here for? We've been here 50 weeks, right?
Wow.
And then more than a year, every week.
Yeah.
He never comes out, never talks to us, doesn't even talk to his neighbors, right? I got interviews with neighbors that they don't get invited to their parties. They don't, and it's the minority neighbor that's I'm talking about, because these white neighbors get invited, but But anyway, so we're very approachable, right?
Yeah.
We're very approachable. We're very friendly. We have the ambassador for the governor. The dog comes out to see us, so they let the dog come out to see us, right? We're friendly to the dog, and if the governor came out, we'd be friendly to the governor, right?
Oh, that'd be sweet. Oh my God.
So if the governor came out one day to talk to us, would you be nice to him?
I would.
Yep. How about you? Would you be amicable and friendly?
Oh, I try.
Well,
I would.
He's the governor, right?
So
why would the governor not come out and talk to us, right?
I don't know.
We got like 40% market share on this kind of stuff, and he doesn't talk to us. And we're here all the time, and he lives here. It's like it took him 5 minutes to walk out. He came out and did the Thanksgiving photo shoot.
Is there any way to hold governors legally responsible for harnessing COVID using its
Question? Is there any way? Can you read it out?
Is there any way to hold governors legally responsible for harnessing COVID and using it to raise our states?
Well, I've been. If you look at my COVID thread. If you watch my COVID thread, I've been documenting how this stuff has been damaging and exploiting people, especially the older people, for a very long time. I ran stories on how your thing's tilted. I ran stories identifying stuff the Minnesota Department of Health was not publicizing in their reports months before anybody else was talking about it. And the Minnesota Department of Health has been putting out all kinds of stuff, and it's basically intentionally deceptive, and it's all political. They were doing interviews. Staff from Minnesota Department of Health were doing interviews with me months before this really became a big deal. They were talking about their procedures, talking about how this was statutorily required. They're doing all this stuff because that's what the law says. And then it became political, and guess what? Once it became political, they don't talk about it anymore. And now they do all this stuff in secret, and they're manipulating all the numbers. They got all these dedupers, because they're always counting things multiple times, and then they deduplicate it and they take it out later. It's all this just, if the numbers don't add up, and they don't want to talk about how they do stuff, and things don't line up with death certificates and stuff, how can anybody really believe it? So their credibility is real low. And it didn't used to be like that. It used to be with the government. Minnesota Department of Health was considered a credible source of public health data. But now it's political. They're being told you can't talk to so-and-so. Back in the day, the Minnesota Department of Health would call me about that stuff. They called me several times, and one time in particular, they called me up thinking that my daily report that I was putting out that was doing a 7-day forecast, they were asking me if I was getting my information from one of their staff, because I was putting out their numbers days before they did, 7 days out, and they thought I was getting it insider information. And I wasn't. I was just predicting it, and my predictions were very, very accurate for the prime event, which the prime event was back in you know, up through basically June of 2020. After that, after 2020 to June, you know, it's not the same thing anymore. It's a whole different deal. Doesn't line up with the math of any of the original descriptions. You know, basically we have a steady state condition now. Every day is almost the same.